Welcome, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. How are you as you are coming in? How are you this morning here in the UK, afternoon, evening, wherever you are around the globe? Welcome to Women in Digital Business and welcome to the branding session that we put on for you today. My name is Natalia Nicholson and you are here hanging out with the Women in Digital Business community. Right, so ladies, welcome to Women in Digital Business and welcome to How to Develop a Brand Strategy. Okay, it's great to have you all here, and we've been running a series of workshops. And just to let you know, we are a digital marketeer certified partner. If any of you want to go and look up digital marketeer right now, these are a community that are specifically for businesses, 6 to 7 figure businesses. Okay, Ryan Diet is a big name in the digital marketing community, written books, is a thought leader, has got numerous amounts of companies that he owns and surpassed 7 figures decades ago. And it's so funny, I'm actually a part of their mastermind. And just to let you know, yesterday we had a call and I was on that call. And when we was going through the workshops that I was running and they saw the value of the content, their minds were blown. They couldn't believe these are the type of workshops that I was running and the information that was being given away on, the level of just being able to help women and it being complementary. And the reason why we give so much value at Women in Digital Business, for you to really be able to succeed in business, there's a lot you have to do. Yet, not on top of having the right mindset, being able to set goals, passing through imposter syndrome, getting over overwhelm, organizing yourself around the many different things that we do as women, you have to be really strategic. And I've paid a lot of money to go on different programs where some of the in fact, all the free stuff that we give away they were paid information. I had to go on paid programs to get them. But guess what? Even when I went on those programs, I would still have to educate myself further, implement things, waste a whole ton of money, educate myself just to be able to keep pushing forward. To really make your businesses work and monetize them, you have to get strategic. And these workshops that we run they will do more than scratch the surface. They will give you tools, but you're going to have to even dig deeper than that on what we give you today to really be able to get ahead. Okay, it's not an easy road. Any of these messages that you see of, you can 10x your business in 30 days, try and find me a case study of someone that is a new business startup, only been trading for a couple of years, that has just done that with no background of business at all, because you will be very hard pressed to find that. So let's look at what topics we're going to cover today. We're going to look at the definition of a brand style guide, the importance of brand style guides, the danger of having no brand guide styles, and elements of what makes a brand guide style. So brand story, logo, color palette, typography, brand voice, imagery guidelines. And then we're just going to look at the conclusion and just look at some examples of brand style guides. And at the end, I really want to cover how we can really get your business from where it is now into a stage where you are actually growing and you're monetizing to where you want to be. Like I said, for you to really succeed, especially in this digital world that gives you flexibility as a woman, it's time to get real strategic. But you have to create a framework for you. And it starts with branding. Okay, branding is a brand promise you make to your customer. What promise are you making to your customer and who is your customer? Two very key important questions you need to ask yourself, and it cannot be off the top of your head. Okay, joining our community, you'll be able to explore answering those questions in a lot more detail, so you are crystal clear on who your audience is and what your promise is to them, so you can deliver and you can grow and scale. So let's look at what is a brand style guide. Okay, a brand style guide, think of a brand Bible. Okay, it's that deep. It's really important. If I was to be honest with you, the areas that I've had to go back and correct and tweak time and time again that have had the biggest impact on my business and monetization is branding. Okay, it contains specifications on everything that plays a role on the look and feel of your brand. It contains everything brand related, from typography and color and logos, imageries. It specifies how to present your brand to the world. And it's just really, really important. I can't stress it enough. It actually keeps you on track as an entrepreneur. It keeps your team on track and any suppliers that you work with, joint ventures, and anything that you're doing. Because as entrepreneurs, we suffer from SOS, shiny object syndrome, where we want to be doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, some of us 10 things at the same time. And your brand guidelines and the promise that you're making to your customer and having to look at everything down to what font you're using, what color you're using, your brand voice, all the things we're about to go to now, it keeps you in check and it keeps you in line to make you remember why you're doing what you're doing. And that might sound crazy, like who starts a business and forgets why they're doing what they're doing? Oh, but us entrepreneurs, we all do it. We all do it. It is called shiny object syndrome, where especially if something's not working, it's not going your way, or you're not monetizing and getting what you want, you'll think to yourself, let me change it. And by changing it, you're changing your brand. And if you keep changing your brand promise and what you do and who you're targeting, no one's going to understand what you do and who you are. And actually, what you're going to do is you're going to take away of the authority of who you are and what you stand for. And that's when you just encourage imposter syndrome even more. You knock your own self-confidence when you keep chopping and changing and things aren't working. And then what happens is your customers will also lose faith into you as well. And your prospects won't see you as an authority. So understand that this is one of the first things that you need to do or revisit in your business if you want to get it to where it needs to be. It's really, really important. So a brand style guide acts as a directory or a key document that helps a business establish consistency on how it presents itself to the world. And consistency is key. You will hear me, those of you that have listened to my sessions a lot, you will always hear me compare a sales funnel or the customer value journey and the whole process and your map of how you're going to get to where you are in your business to a relationship. I compare it a lot to the laws of intimacy. It's about creating human to human relationships using technology. And consistency is key, because think about when you meet someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone in a romantic sense, when you're building a relationship, if someone is flaky and they're not consistent, what does that make them think of you? Think about even when you're using services and you come across brands. Consistency is absolutely key, and consistency is down, it goes into everything you do, from content to imagery to videos, all the stuff that we're about to cover in today's session. So really understand that. The best brand style guides aim to rule out any inconsistencies in visual communication. For those of you that turn up to these sessions weekly, when you look at my decks, you'll always see the logo there. You'll always see a template that is consistent week in, week out. If you go onto our social media pages, if you log on to Instagram right now, go on to Women in Digital Business Instagram and just look at the page. Just keep scrolling and looking and you will see the consistencies. If you go onto all of our pages, you will see a consistency in visual communication. That makes us feel trusted. Okay. And if you do go into our Instagram, feel free to follow us. It's a shareable guide. It's a shareable guide that should make us as much sense to the IT department as it does to the design and marketing. Business is made up of key functions and roles. If you look at a business, you've got operations, you've got IT, you've got human resources, you've got marketing, and you've got IT. They are the 5 core departments of a business. All of those departments should have a clear guide of understanding what your brand promise is and what your customer expects of you, what your objective is, what your brand voice is, what your brand colors are, how to use the logo. We're going to go into all of this, okay? Every single person in your department or who's working with you, it can even be a friend and a family member that's helping you at the moment. You should have a brand style guide so they are clear. So everything about you in terms of design, in terms of content, in terms of how you answer the phone, you write an email, okay? All of that should be there. It has to be. And if you don't, the dangers of not having a brand guideline, it will just mean that you'll have inconsistency in your branding, okay? It just creates a confusing customer experience. Like, how many of you have had a brand that's giving you a brand promise? Like, let's say, you're doing a workout regime. I always like using the fitness, the diet market, because the examples there are just always like shining examples. It's like if you sign up for a product that says that it's going to help you lose weight, give you the recipes, and then you sign up for it, and then all of a sudden it's telling you about not the exercises but how to use gym equipment. There's an inconsistency there. You're now confused, and then rather than you having to figure out where the information is, that's it, you'll just go and find another community or something else. So sometimes what happens as business owners, because we understand our business and we build a lot of our business models around what we think consumers want. That's another thing. Do your research. Your research is absolutely key. If you do not research your marketplace, if you do not research who your audience is, and I think I've said this on every single workshop that I've run, and I'm sure our content strategist and director Edna smiles every time I say it. She drums into our head, know your customer better than they know themselves. Okay, and to do that, you've got to think from your customer's perspective. If you keep thinking from your perspective, some of us create some really detailed business models that if someone knew nothing about you and nothing about your business, they would find it incredibly confusing. And branding draws everything in and gives everybody that clear vision. It gives them that clear vision to understand, okay, what the consumer experience is, and the consumer even understands what it is that you do. So not having brand guidelines, you'll confuse your customer, you'll confuse your prospect. It affects the authenticity of the brand massively. You need to place yourself. It's really funny. So I'm on this quest to get back into shape this year. And today I was in the gym under this session, and I was literally in the running machine, and I was thinking about imposter syndrome. Like I said, yesterday I was on my mastermind call, and everybody was just like, the content you've got, the standard of, what your community's doing, the workshops that you're running is absolutely amazing. Like the value that you're giving is above and beyond. And you really need to look at that in terms of being a business. You say you want to give out funding, and you could be at a stage where you could be giving a lot more funding out, but you give away so much value at the price you're giving it. That's what's stopping you from being able to give out, pots of funding within your business. And again, today, so I'm on the running machine, I'm getting to the point, and I'm thinking about imposter syndrome. And we all suffer from it. No matter what level you're at, we all like to hear and know that, what we're doing, we've done well. So if you've got a brand and 1 minute you're talking about, exercising, then you're talking about what foods that you eat, then you start deciding, well, it's not just exercise, you need to have exercise that use kettlebells, and then you'll be able to get to your desired weight. Then after kettlebells, you decide that actually, no, it's step aerobics. With the dieting, first of all, you're saying it's just soup, then it's a juice diet, then you're saying it's intermittent fasting. So you're constantly introducing new things that you confuse your customer. And then not only do you confuse them, it affects the authenticity, because then they start to think, well, do you even know what you're talking about? To establish yourself as an authority when nobody knows who you are, you need to be able to be very clear on what you're an expert in. You need to be very clear on the solution that you are providing, whether it's a physical product or a digital product or a service that you offer. You need to be very clear through your brand guidelines what your promise is, what it is that you solve. What do you solve? What pain and challenges does your audience have that you solve? Because if you are not clear about that and you don't build trust within that, how can anybody look to you as a go-to? How can anybody look to you as actually, your business solves a problem that we have? Okay. Lack of professionalism. Over the years, software and tech and the way that we use it has meant that there's no excuse for a lack of professionalism. I'm actually just going to tell it as it is on this one. There is no excuse ever now in this day and age to have a Gmail account, a Yahoo account, or any form of internet account. Get a domain, get your name in there, but it surpasses that now. A website. There are so many site builders and website builders. The minute your audience can see, well, you've used, it's quite obvious that GoDaddy is branded all over your website, for example. What does it do? It lowers the trust and the barriers. Think about when you're buying, especially those of you that have got more higher ticket items. Think about the telltale signs that you look for. Think about things like when you look at a URL and you see all these numbers and you can't see the company name. And before you're going to pay, you think, can I really trust this? By having brand guidelines and by having that constant consistency through design, through automated emails that come through, addresses, emails, just the detail. Do you understand where I'm coming from? The detail is what gives you professionalism. So without brand guidelines, you lack that professionalism. which means all you're doing is breaking trust. If your customer, your prospect does not trust you, they're not going to turn into a customer. And if your customer, even after they're bought from you, there's telltale times they don't like the service, you haven't kept to your brand promise, you're not being authentic, they will not buy from you again. Branding is so key. It's the foundation. So if you build a weak foundation, what's going to happen? It's like a house of cards. It's just going to fall in. You'll diminish your brand recognition, and you will just, you'll just damage the trust and the spending habits of an audience. So understand, everybody, every business, I don't care whether you're a one-man band, you're a solopreneur, you're at ideation stage and you haven't quite launched, you need a brand style guide, and you need to understand who your audience is. There's no point having a brand style guide and you're not clear on who you're serving. That I can't stress enough. I can't cover everything in one workshop. I've told you to go and check us out on YouTube. I've told you to join the community. And I'm also going to tell you about a system that's really going to be able for you to look into all areas. But branding is key. Branding is often thought about like, yeah, I need a logo, I need a website. I've worked with businesses that literally would say to me, yeah, I just need to get the logo done. I found a voluntary role. I'm just going to outsource it. You need to come up with the first version of your brand style guide, because it's your business. Your business is born out of you. And when nobody knows who your business is, actually, they're going to look to you. So branding yourself is also important, because when nobody knows who you are and you're trying to make yourself aware, people are going to look to you. They want to know your story. They want to know your why. They want to know why they're supporting you. Why did you build this business? What does it do? They want to know that you understand their problems. They want to know that you're an authority. Many times when your prospect is getting to know who you are, it starts with your branding. From the point that you've got their attention and they're interested in you, they are actually making their mind up whether they're going to buy from you. So your job is to basically give to them every objection of sell and overcome it. And it starts with branding. So understand, I think you can hear my passion and you get it. Branding is absolutely key. The danger of not doing it is the danger of you not surviving. Okay. So let's look at elements of a brand style guide. So brand stories wrap up a company's vision, mission, and core values in one nice little package. So if you don't have a story, you're just another commodity. Do you understand what I mean by that? If I need a pack of batteries, I don't really need the story. But then you say that I do need the story, because I'm still probably going to go for Duracell, because in my mind, Duracell lasts longer. And I have tried cheaper batteries and they don't last as long as Duracell. And if you look at Duracell's ad campaign and their whole brand, it's about the fact of how long their batteries last. Okay. But it's not just a commodity. A commodity is just something you might need a plastic carrier bag just to put something in. Okay. So brand stories are key, even for brands that are just day-to-day usage around your house. Like I just said, batteries. Brand stories are still really, really key. For you to really connect to someone, stories are the best possible way that you can do it. Okay, so when we look at big brands like Apple, Apple's branding strategy focuses on emotion. The starting point is how Apple product experience makes you feel. The Apple brand personality, it's about lifestyle, imagination, liberty, innovation, passion, hopes, dreams, aspirations, and the power to the people through technology. I don't know how old many of you are on here, but Apple's a really interesting case study. Go back onto YouTube and look at Apple's first adverts that they came out with. Apple and Microsoft were literally at one stage going toe to toe. Okay, until they separated. When you look at Apple was very much for the market of people that didn't want to be the average person and fit into a round hole. They were for people that thought outside the box. They were for the creatives. How many of you remember when people would say, oh, well, you don't really need a Mac unless you're a designer, or unless you're a creative, or unless you do editing? It was known for the innovative people. It was known for the people that were techs. They were geeks. It was, like a creme de la creme. It was a club that you wanted to be a part of. And that's how Apple really built their brand. To this day, you will find people that have Apple products. They don't care about the price. It has to be Apple, because it's that attachment and that brand story. It's how it makes them feel. So Apple buyers don't think I want it because it's a dual SIM, it's got 64 gigabytes, it's a 12 megapixel hexa-core processing smartphone. They think, yeah, I want this because it's Apple and I only use and have Apple. So there's always a story. You know, brand stories are really, really important. And every brand story, if you really look at every single brand story, Apple's another example. You've got Steve Jobs, which is a personal brand within himself. Then you've got Apple. You need to make sure you are also personally branding yourself, because when nobody knows who you are, they're going to go to you. They want to know about you. You will be the reason why they buy, because people buy people and they want to know your story. They want to know your why. What is your why? People don't want to know what it's because you want to make loads of money. And it's the law of the world. It's the law of attractions. You know, in a business, you have to serve your customer. You know, treat people how you'd want to be treated. The law of reciprocation. There are many laws in life, and branding ties into that. So brand stories are really, really important. Understand how you can tell your brand story. Understand what your why is. Understand your company's vision and mission. And that story will be at the core values. And that is what sits in the middle of your brand. And stories is what connects you to people. Stories is what is going to bring that human to human. It's going to break down barriers. And the law of intimacy and getting closer to your prospects means that's how you're going to really make sales. So logos, again, we've got this way of, I just need a logo. I've got this great designer. I've had a penny for every time I've heard this. I've had a brilliant design. You've either got someone that's going to just design the logo themselves, or go onto Fiverr or commission it, or there's other people that would just spend so much money through the nose because there's this great, fantastic designer that understands logos. I tell you what you need brand guidelines. So the person designing your logo, whether it's yourself, someone in your team, someone you know, someone on Fiverr, a logo specialist, a graphic designer that specializes in the best logos ever, they need to understand your brand. And to do that, what do you have to have? Guidelines to create a recognizable brand signature. You know, your logo should be indicating everything about you as much as you can. Okay, your logo will be placed absolutely everywhere. So identify how your logo should be used. And you need to even think about what size will it be, every variation, the color, how it will be used. It's the detail. And that's when I kicked off this session, I said to you, it's time to start thinking much more strategic. So you need to make sure that when you're using your logo and people are using your logo, you know, you indicate what the wrong variations of your logo are. So your creative team will know the logo variations that aren't acceptable and those that are acceptable. Because when you start doing joint ventures, when you start being on other sites or doing social media, you don't want to start seeing your logo in different colors. You don't want to start seeing your logo being pulled in the wrong way in the shape. Who's ever seen a logo that it looks pixelated because it got stretched too much horizontally or vertically? Understand how you use that logo. It should be seen consistently across everything that you do. Okay, and again, the brand guidelines is going to help the person or you actually create your logo, so you're getting closer to an image that represents what you do. One of the best logos is Nike, the tick. If I said to you Nike's logo and I said to you what's their tagline, you don't even need to go and check it out, just do it. Okay, it's been an icon of the transformation of pop culture and the identification into a tribal community movement. And they sell trainers, they sell sneakers. And that's what they've managed to do. And their logo is just so iconic. And I'm not suggesting that anybody's going to become a Nike overnight. But again, they are very clear with how their logo can be used, cannot be used. And there's been a consistency over the years that it's a recognizable brand signature. Okay, so even when we look at signatures, let's look at Spotify. So for print, we didn't make this up just to let you know, these are real life examples, because I really want you to understand that the big corporates and, you know, larger organizations, this is what they do. You should be starting off with this standard. So it will even say for print, it will give you the size. For digital, this is the size. You know, what the pixels can be. What's the smallest size it can go down to? What's the biggest size it can go down to? Okay, the acceptance of different colors that can be used. Spotify has 3 colors: black, white, and green. These are the variations you can use, nothing else. So when you see this, you don't even need to see the word Spotify. Instantly with that logo, you know who it is. When I see that app on my phone, of any of those variations, I don't even need to see the words. I know that that's my Spotify app. So this is what's acceptable to Spotify, and they will be clear on their brand guidelines. This is the wrong use of our logo. Okay, no changing the color of green, no putting the Spotify diagonally up. Okay, no blurring of the three lines and it's not clear and it's not pixelated properly. So the gradients, changing the gradients, the resolution, different colors. Every color's got a CMYK code, and that code is the code you have to stick to. People can't be trying to think, oh, let me get to the closest green. And that's how you need to treat your logo. You need to treat your assets with that level of respect from day dot. So you're clear and others are clear. Color palettes. And the reason why this is so important is because consistency is what builds trust. When you keep seeing the same logos, the same colors, it creates a professionalism, it creates a look, and it builds trust. The trust that when you're making your audience aware of you and you've got a brand promise, it's going to keep them finding out more about you to purchase from you. So color palette. So identify your primary brand colors and some secondary shades and stick with it. Don't go changing it. When I used to start off in business, I was a stippler for that. Oh, maybe that doesn't work anymore. Let me change the color. Okay. Nope. Choose your brand colors and make sure that you stick with them. It's really, really key. Detail the exact hex code for web use as well. CMYK values, I think I might have missed a letter out there, but yeah, CMYK values and Pantone colors for items that will be printed. So there's codes in all of this. And nowadays, guys, we have got such powerful software. You can create and do so much in Canva. But if you've got a brand guidelines, everybody's sticking to the consistency that I'm talking about. So whether you're handing your logo out because you're being featured, because you're doing an event, whether you're creating digital assets and you need to use your logo, no matter who's using your logo, they've got a clear idea of what they're using it for. And they've got a clear idea of who you are and what you do, because then that will translate through everything that you do. So it might feel like, oh my gosh, this is just like small little detail. It's not. This is what keeps you consistent. This is what gets your customer to believe in you. And this is what creates congruent consistency across everything you do, from websites to proposals to email signatures to social media posts to stories to banners to any printed assets or brochures or flyers to any banners if you do events. Any bags if you sell something and people are walking out with the bag. These are the things that really build your trust up and really give you authority, consistency. So the core palette will cover majority of your needs. It's intentionally small in variety so as not to dilute the brand visuals, which adds confusion. Okay, so when I say small in variety, you don't want 6 different brand colors. You don't want too many variations of them because it just adds confusion. You want people to recognize who you are. Again, look at our Instagram page, look at our Facebook page, go onto our website, look at the decks that I'm actually presenting from. Those of you that are in our community, we will send examples. We also run an e-commerce store called and inspirational gifts. We will put an example of brand values in there just to give you an idea of what a brand value guidelines document should look like. So let's look at some more examples to really put it into perspective here. So Netflix, again, can you see Netflix has got an RGB code, it's got a hex code, it's got the CMYK code, and it's got a PMS code. Okay, so it tells you all the codes of the colors here for different uses. You can see what it looks like. Their brand colors are white, black, and red. It even tells you exactly what white, what gray, what red, and it gives you all the different types of codes for print, codes for websites, codes depending on what type of print you're going for, what type of document format. As you get bigger, you can see it really goes into depth. Typography. Really pick a font that matches your visual style and stay consistent. Again, if you look at all of our posts and you look at all of our platforms and our websites, you will see the same fonts. We have a font for, and all companies do, this isn't a women in digital business thing, big companies, small companies, we have a font for headlines. What you're actually headlining. We have a font for sub-headlines, and we have a body text. So we have 3 fonts that we stick to and we use in everything we do. So pick a font that matches your visual style and stay consistent. You can pick a primary font and a secondary font. Like I said, for us, we go through our headlines, sub-headlines, and the body. You can also use different fonts for different platforms. So maybe you'll have a different font for your website and a different font for the mobile view, because the mobile view and the tablet are a lot more smaller. So you want to be able to make sure that text is readable and you can see it. Whereas on a website, it's going to be used through a desktop, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, so you're going to be able to see it more. The detail. So having a font is really, really key. Maybe you're a very professional company, you're an accountant, you're a solicitor, so maybe you want a really formal typography, maybe something like similar to a Times Roman. I mean, I went basic because I know you all know what Times New Roman is, but I don't really expect you to choose that font. Again, using things like Canva, Google as fonts, you've got access to seriously just thousands of different fonts. Maybe you're going to go for something that's really modern and contemporary, so you want something that's big and wider. Maybe you want something that's more handwriting, like for your headlines, because it's more relaxed or it's more girly. You know, if you're having a product that's related to women, think about your audience and think about your colors and think about your typography. You know, it's really, really, really important. And different colors mean different things. Do your research. You know, some people will say that financial services, blue chip and corporate always tend to go for, you know, blues. Telecommunications always tend to go for oranges. There's a reason behind that. So look at that, but be consistent with it first and foremost. There's a reason. So, you know, even like social media platforms, let's look at Twitter and Snapchat. These are Helvetica New, Roman Bold, 55, Avner. Does that make sense? This was actually made by someone. These are the typefaces they're using. This is the detail. This is the detail, ladies, that goes into the big organization of what fonts I will use, what colors I will use. Even I've done it. I've read books, blogs, and manuals on what colors mean what to people. You know, when you really start getting into marketing and you really start building that landing pages and funnels that is driving you traffic, getting you leads and bringing the sales in, trust me, you'll start looking at, well, let me change my button from blue to green, because when it's green, it converts more. You know, for those of you that are marketeers, you know what I'm talking about, okay? You know, we do all the time in our team. Oh, what does the color of that mean? You know, just looking at different things. But for your brand guideline, pick your colors and stick to them. You don't get to change them like that. Buttons on the landing pages are fine, but let's not go away and start changing your brand colors based on what I said. But think about that from the actual beginning, okay? So brand voice. Brand voice is how you speak about your company. It's how you describe your products and communicate with your customers. And brand voice is really, really, really important. So by brand voice, what do I mean? So what style is your company? Here at, you know, Women in Digital Business, we are straight talkers. There's no padding things out, making it nice. We're straight talk and we're to the point. You know, we like to show our vulnerability. We feel like there's power in vulnerability. So we represent empowerment and power. So that comes across in our tone and voice. If you read our blogs, they are very authoritative, they are very educational, they are very to the point, they are very to the direct. You might have a product or service that could be around mental health, and you need your brand voice to be soothing, to be understanding, to make sure that it has empathy. You want people to be able to open up. Make sense? You might have a brand voice where actually you're a transformation coach, and you need to have that. Do it now. You've got no excuse. You are the problem. You're stopping yourself. Think about, you know, ads, and when you hear people speak like that, that's their brand voice coming out, because their brand voice is to push you to the limit, to make you accountable, and to make you understand the only person stopping you is you. So they're not going to speak to you all nicely. You know, maybe you are a fashion designer and you help, you know, people design their look and their wardrobe. Maybe your brand voice is creative, it's sexy. You know, just think about what your brand voice is. Think about, you know, who your audience is, what you do, and think about your brand voice. Every business has a brand voice. It's your brand's personality and emotion infused into company communications, particularly communications that are directed to your consumers. You know, a brand voice can have any style as long as it feels true to the brand and the brand values and the persona. Persona, for those of you that aren't familiar with personas, is you should have a persona that your product or service is aimed at. And many businesses will have more than one. Try not to have too many, because again, you're trying to be everything to everyone, and we want to avoid that. When you're doing your brand guidelines, you should be very clear on who your audience is. You should be very, very clear on, you know, your persona. You know, your persona, again, examples, it could be authoritative, it could be playful, it could be intellectual, it could be ominous, it could be kind or fun. You know, think about how many brand voices are now kind and fun with the amount of reels that you're now seeing through TikTok and on Instagram. You've got the words coming down, you've got the dances, you've got the, you know, look at me, it's jovial, it's fun, but you're still got a brand promise. So just think about your brand voice. You know, if your brand voice is authoritative, do you really want to be doing playful reels? Because sometimes in this marketing world, we just want to do things because it's a trending thing. You know, reels are out right now. You know, a few months ago, you know, Clubhouse was the next big thing. You know, I need to get onto TikTok. If you've got a clear brand and objective of what you do, who your audience is, and what your promise is, you should understand your marketplace and your customer enough to understand where your customers are, and your brand voice should be able to speak and to really be able to connect. Okay, so think about brand voices. You know, when we think of Skype, you know, their brand voice is that it's free, you can connect around the whole world, you can share, you can have calls. Okay, words that Skype don't like is telephony, it's not a telephone, peer to peer, you know, voice identification, these are not the things. Bills, because it's free. You don't want to make it sound like you're an institution that produces bills, because you're not going to get people that use it. So just think about the words that describe your brand, and from there you'll be able to build out, okay, what is my brand voice? And these should be things that are included in your brand guidelines. Okay, and examples of brand voice in your content marketing. So blog posts, they should be useful, they should help people, and they should teach people. They're not there to waste people's time. Blogs give educational value, it gives added value benefit. So how will your tonality be when you're writing blog posts? Like I said, for us, it's very authoritative, it's very to the point, no BS. It makes you feel free to show vulnerability, show how mistakes are made, and show the value in failure and mistakes. We want people to understand that we live in the real world. This is real life. You can't just, you know, be really well educated, always get straight A's, have an MBA, have a PhD, and you're just perfect at everything you do. You know, our tonality and brand voice is unapologetic. You know, we understand the human nature, what it is, and we want you to be able to understand that, and we're free with that in terms of the language that we use to make you feel comfortable. See, I can go into that depth because I'm very clear on our brand guidelines. You know, web elements, intuitive, iconic graphic, plain English. You know, what do I mean, by the way? Some of you might be thinking about intuitive icon graphic. It's icon like infographics. Okay, graphics that are branded and can break down and make someone explain things very, very simply. Infographics, when you're a Amazon seller or you've got your e-commerce site and you're trying to explain the different things a product can do, are really, really key. You know, if it wasn't for the infographics for you know, a lot of equipment that I buy, to have to read through all the blurb of what something does. Like I wanted to buy a crock pot and an air fryer the other day, and the infographic just explained to me exactly what they do. And in a nanosecond, visually, I was able to say, okay, you know, actually I prefer the air fryer, just for example. You want things in plain English. Social media, you know, is it very formal? Is it typically behind the scenes content? You know, is it our people, our work, and nothing really, you know, and everything needs to make sure it has a call to action. So just think about your brand voice within content marketing, within blog posts, within your web elements, within your social media. Think about your calls to action. Think about your brand voice again. Are they controversial? Okay, are they interventional? You know, don't be pushy with call to actions. Book now or else you'll miss out and your life will be really, really bad. Don't do that. Has anybody ever seen the pharmaceutical adverts, especially in America, where they will say, you know, this product will make you lose weight, it will give you confidence, it will transform your life, you'll be able to think better about yourself, build that business, have a job that you want. And it creates this like literally American dream. That at the end of the advert, it would say things like, you know, may cause itching, may cause kidney failure, may cause lung collapse, may cause heart attack, may cause death, really, really quickly. And then the call to action at the end will be, and buy today, else you will miss your chance to be the best version of you. You know, these that's what I mean. that's an example of, you've got the brand voice as authoritative, but in there you've also got all the things that can go wrong. So make sure the brand voice is consistent in your content marketing. When it comes to social media, your calls to action, your web elements, your user experience, your blog posts, everything. Just make sure that that brand voice is congruent. So if you're very formal, stick to formal. I don't expect to see you do TikTok reels on social media. Okay, if you're sharing behind the scenes content, you know, I'd expect you to maybe be on a platform like YouTube. Would I expect you to be on Twitter? Makes sense? So understand that your brand voice also needs to be congruent. And imagery guidelines. Imagery in brand style guides include photos, illustration, charts, infographics. Implement data visualization guidelines for future custom illustrations. So such as content, composition, shadows, and more, to produce a really cohesive style. So for those of you that have got lifestyle products and businesses, for those of you that are really in the creative space, this is really, really key. So before we start any brand guidelines for ourselves or our clients, we would create mood boards. What mood do you want? What do you want to say? How do you want the look to be? How do you want the feel to be? It just means that we can build out a brand guideline that, you know, really, really, really is cohesive. You know, making sure there aren't shadows, especially if you've got an e-commerce store, and you know, everything's a white background, it's crisp and it's clear. There's no rooms for having shadows. You know, you've got companies like ASOS that if you was a fashion designer and sent in images and there were shadows, you wouldn't even get past it being viewed. So if you use photography, use photographs in branding, a style guide should identify the type of composition and the level of complexity of photographs that would fit with your brand. Fashion, food. Think about things that are really key in your visual. Think about some of the great imagery and videos we now see with food, making food, fashion, when we're featuring something. You know, it's even more, and from a creative point of view, it has to be cohesive. The composition and the level of complexity also needs to be gone into. So these are all things for you to really think about. So even when you look at Shopify illustration guidelines, they are really detailed, but the illustration should really add information. It should provide context, add clarity, or it should lead users to their next step. Okay, it should be considerate. It should be able to connect on a human to human level, break down those barriers that I keep talking to, the laws of intimacy. It should be focused. It should be most effective when it's precise in choosing a single message to deliver your brand promise. If you have 50,000 promises, you're not going to be taken seriously. Okay, so Shopify, if you really go and start looking at case studies of competitors that you want to be like, and start looking at their brand guidelines, their illustration guidelines, and start looking at the complexity about them, but also something like this, the simplicity of them and the detail of them. And you can see that it just makes sense on how, by having really strong brand guidelines and having consistency and congruency in everything you do, how it's going to lead people to want to buy from you, to want to be a part of your community, to trust you, to tear down the walls of barriers and the objections to sales, to take that step to keep buying from you. Okay, really, really important. So let's look at the conclusion. You know, identify your brand story. Okay, come up with logo guidelines, stick to your brand color palettes, find your brand's typography, define your brand voice, and formulate imaginary guidelines that fit with your brand's visual style, especially in a world where we consume so much visuals and so much videos. Yet infographics, videos are bigger than they've ever been before, because that's how we consume information. 80% of audiences consume information in that style more than just writing and content. But again, always think about your audience. Okay, brand guide style example. So today we looked at Netflix, we looked at Spotify. Go ahead and look at Google. Okay, and just look at brand style guide directory. These are just really, really, really good examples and resources that can really help you to understand the importance of style guides, and just look at what the big boys are doing, or big girls. My bad. Yeah, it puts it into real perspective on the depth that they go into. And I'm not asking you to have brand guidelines like Netflix, Spotify, or Google, but understand the depth and complexity, and understand that just, you know, having a website, not having consistency, not being congruent, and all the things we discussed today will just result in you having far less success within your business. Now, I said to all of you that I had something for you at the end of the presentation. And what I want to do is really look at Empower. Empower is a program that we've put together, okay, that you get access to for a whole year, but it's a 12-week program. And this program just puts everything, not just branding, into perspective and gives you a Bible for your business. It gets you to dig deep. It gets you to go way below the surface of what you will find on the internet, hanging out in different groups, following different YouTube channels, gurus, paying for how to start a webinar, how to do a course, create a course, and you're just picking little nitbits of information, but you haven't got that strategy. You haven't got that strategy to really make sure that you've got a map, literally a Bible, that you can say, this is how I'm going to get from point A to B. And things won't always go according to plan on the journey. But if you don't plan, you plan to fail. You have to have a map. If you've got a map, when you get lost, what do? You refer to your map. And because you're entrepreneurs, because we are entrepreneurs, that SOS, shiny object syndrome, is a thing that's going to take you off course, your map, getting distracted, doing things you shouldn't be doing, thinking of other ideas constantly because you're not reaching the goals of where you are, looking for something else that you think is a solution to get excited again. And you just keep falling into that failure cycle, not having the confidence within yourself, getting overwhelmed. Now, there's a lot that goes into entrepreneurialism. There's a lot that goes into being able to build a successful business that actually monetizes and gives you revenue. And this digital world means that you can have freedom and flexibility through a digital business. But it's not that easy that you can just set up, post in social media, follow somebody else's story or framework. You have to create your own framework. And what we do is give you the tools to make sure that you create a map and a Bible that is for you and your business, that will get you from where you are now to where you want to be, and do it in a strategic manner, should I say, that really gives you more confidence. It breaks through that imposter syndrome because you know what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and you understand how you're going to get from where you are, which means you start to believe it. When you believe it and you know that you're good enough to do it, that's when you start to see real change come about. And I told you, I was on my mastermind yesterday. And again, when we was looking at the program that I offer, and I was just getting feedback, they were amazed at the value. And at the moment, just to let you know, there's a lot of founding members within our membership. The price of what it's going to cost is about to change soon, and you're never going to get it at the price it is at the moment, which is just a complete and utter no-brainer. So what does it include? There's the foundation stage, which is getting your mind ready, getting you to prepare yourself for the things that you might see that make you go back to finding something new constantly, falling into shiny object syndrome and not being able to break through into a point where you're growing. It looks at your revenue growth plan, having a plan, okay? Doing the research. And I'm not talking about research like a business plan for a bank manager or a non-profit organization course that you found or a small workshop you did. I'm talking about research that's going to unveil a lot, so much. You will be crystal clear on what your brand promise is, who your customer is. You'll be crystal clear on what keywords they use, where they're hanging out. You'll be crystal clear on a lot of things, so you have a plan that will actually enable you to grow. Understanding and knowing what your core offer is. Sometimes we've got so many different core offers that a new person will just get lost in what you do because they're not you. They didn't create your business. You know, creating a sales roadmap, having a map that's going to keep you on track, and understand as well where if things haven't gone quite according to plan, you know, you can see why. That map's going to get you back on track. And it's really, really going to make sure that, just like the brain guidelines, you keep your eyes on the prize. It's really, really clear. Marketing strategy. You can't be doing them all. Oh, I'm going to do reels today, then I think I'm going to go onto Clubhouse or a Facebook group. That seems to be working for people. If you've got a sales roadmap and you know your core offering, you shouldn't have loads of different marketing strategies. So being able to put a strategy together specifically for how you're going to get traffic, leads, and conversion is key. Financial freedom. What do you need to really be able to monitor and scale your business? What business systems do you need? What automation? You know, what business processes you need to put into play? As you grow, you're going to need a team, you're going to need suppliers. What process have you got into place to manage everything? Else, the lack of management will mean that you won't stay on track. It means that your business can't keep its brand promise and your customer will lose complete faith in you. Okay? The procedure of automation. You know, when you just look at email marketing, how someone signs up, your whole funnel is an automation. It's an automation of you constantly being able to get leads and convert that into customers. It just doesn't happen with you sitting behind your screen. A whole automation process. It's a whole architecture that goes into it. You know, task delegation, getting the best out of your team, scoring what you do, scoring what you're doing on social media, scoring what you're doing within your business, scoring how many posts your blog's getting, what your website's doing, your landing page. Think about sports people. You know, they watch themselves back. Boxers, footballers, rugby players, tennis players. They go back and they look at where can I do better? And that's how they grow and become bigger and better. So scoring what you do, the analytics, your objectives should be wrapped around your analytics. We are in the digital age. So the amount of data that there is that you can really find out what you're good at, what you should be doing more at, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's even something called heat maps now that we use, where you can physically go and see what your customer is doing on your website, score it. There is stats and analytics available for everything, and often we're not downloading them. There should be someone or there should be a process in your business that's just doing that and nothing else. Just the same for reviews. These are all the things that we cover and make sure that you have a strategic Bible that's really going to get you to take your business to the next level. Take the overwhelm away, take all that imposter syndrome away, take that shooting in the dark, as I call it, trying all these different things and not getting to where you want to be. And lastly, in week 12, we really look at your scale growth plan, how you've scaled, how you've grown, and to break through that ceiling height. Okay. There's no getting around this. I can tell you that for free. This is 20 years of experience of failing my way to success and taking some beatings. And Lord knows I've taken some beatings. There's been days where I've wanted to give up. There's been days where I think, why me? I try so hard. My desire's there. There's days that I just felt like as soon as I tried to get back up again, something's holding me down and saying, you better stay down, Nat. You're not getting back up again. And it's not until I really figured out strategy, rules, technicalities, looking at business systems, automation, that I started to actually make progress. Okay. And like I said, I was on my mastermind call yesterday, and what we do at Women in Digital Business, and I'm telling you, you're not going to find it from another community. I'm going to be that bold in my statement. You're not going to get the value. You won't get the value that I give. Okay. That you can go around. We've hanged out in numerous communities over the last couple of years to see what's given away and what people are being taught. And half the time I'm like, you're still going to just encounter so many things, or you're just going to have to keep buying different programs or education to overcome that. And if you don't know what you need to do, how do you know what you're looking for? So you do get a private community. Okay, you get bonuses in the membership site, bonuses like how to build your 7-figure digital business using a 7-step system that even looks at, you know, the psychologically goal setting, getting over just mindset, getting over just believing in yourself, you know, looking at the principles of a successful entrepreneur, your relationship with money, you know, mindset, managing yourself. If you don't manage yourself in your time, how are you going to get ahead? You know, mastery. You need to be fit, you need to be healthy, you need to have a really good routine and be able to keep your mental health and your physical health in check to really be able to be your best. It gives you the ultimate e-commerce business checklist. You know, maybe you're in that crossover of your side hustle became your main thing and you really want to think about, okay, what can I diversify? Maybe you're right at the beginning of your journey. And what happens in that 12-week program is you get a summary playbook given to you, you get worksheets given to you. You have to go away and do actionable steps in every single lesson. So at the end of it, you literally end up with a physical Bible. So at any time you go back and you can look at that and it keeps you on track. Okay. There's fast action bonuses that you get up if you come on board as our founding members. You get an exclusive meeting in groups of 5 with me, and we do group coaching. You become a part of a monthly accountability group where other women will lift you up. You can bounce ideas off of. And you can just be a part of a sisterhood, because entrepreneurialism is lonely. There might be some of you that have friends, colleagues, family members around you that don't understand what you do, that think everything you do is risk adverse and you're not going to make it. That type of energy and vibration is not really going to help you get to where you are. So being a part of our community means you get that spiritual food for your soul, and you feel supported, and you get that sisterhood. You know, when women come together, there's something very powerful that happens. And that's what Women in Digital Business is about. And you also get a one-to-one consultation for me for anybody that's going to be signing up on this session, for one lucky person that is very in depth. So I know all of you are now thinking, well, come on, get to the point. How much is it? It's $297. And when you sign up today, you get $100 off, making it $197. Now, I've seen similar programs for businesses that are 3 to 5 years old that turn over 100K plus, that are very similar to this, okay, that retail and they do really, really well. They've got great testimonials and they are like $3,000 minimum. If you don't believe me, go and do the research yourself. I was once taught, if you to understand and believe something, you need to go and look at it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Remember that you are in control of your own life and your own destiny. And if you want to know something, or you want to feel more comfortable with someone, don't take people's word for it. That's how we respond to fake news. That's how we consume a lot of information that's incorrect. Listening to people who have got communities, they've got programs. Does that make sense? You need to go and look at it for yourself. Maybe some of you have hanged out in communities already and you haven't got what you needed. But these programs, they are in the thousands. This is a founding member's price. This price will be gone. I can't stress that enough. And the reason why I laugh, because even yesterday I felt about this small. My mastermind is, like I said, we're a part of Digital Marketer. Go and look them up. Digital Marketer is a huge organization. Ryan Dice is a mogul within himself, written books, runs masterminds where you have to have a turnover of a minimum of $1 million just to be able to be on them, the war rooms. Okay, this is the community that I hang out in, and their mouths dropped to the floor when I explained what I was doing and what I was giving away. But they also understood that I had a bigger why. My target audience is underrepresented women, and I want to make sure that I've built something that's going to make a difference. It's going to help you, and actually, it's going to lower the barrier entry for you. So you don't have to think, how am I going to raise that 3K? So I'm telling you, because I just want you to understand, you've got to invest in yourself. I didn't get to where I am without investing in myself. If you don't understand, you have to invest in yourself. That's where you definitely, this program is not for you. You need to go away and work on mindset, if you want me to be honest with you. It's not for you. You have to be able to understand your value, and you have to invest in yourself. Many entrepreneurs always think that money is their problem. Money is not your problem. I could give you $1 million today to fund your business, and you would still just go through it and not get to where you're going to get to, because you don't have that strategic plan. So the links are in the chat. I am going to take some questions and go through them, but the links to sign up are in the chat. There is a replay that will go out. If you want to see the replays of any further workshops, go onto YouTube. But don't have that attitude. And I was speaking about this with my husband, actually. A lot of people think that I'll just keep delving into watching videos and I'll get there in the end. I just haven't got the money to invest. And trust me, we speak from experience, because we know you just end up wasting time, because a lot of times you don't know the order in how to do things or the priority to take. You can't do everything at once. So you just stay stuck and you keep going round in a circle. Okay. So, you're talking about $100 off, $197. And if all this did was to help you make a consistent increase in your monthly sales, ask yourself, would it be worth it? If all it did was take the overwhelm of marketing your product services, would it be worth it? If all it did was empower you to take action every lesson to get you where you want to be, would the program be worth it? And you already know all the answers to this. If you do every single lesson and you say to me, I've done that and it didn't work, have your money back. Hell, I'll pay you. It's a system that works. It's time to get strategic. It's time to really understand where you are, where you're going. over some of the devils that are sitting on your back in terms of overwhelmed, in terms of self-confidence, in terms of having that imposter syndrome, and then get strategic and make your goals into a reality. Yeah, invest in yourself. It's such a small amount. Okay, that's it. We're out of time for today. Any questions, please do put it in the group. Please do email us, but have a fantastic Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing you in the Women in Digital Business community. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.